This is The Final Word.
Good evening, I'm Rich Walsh, and welcome to The Final Word, the only show that invites you at home into the conversation. Get your opinion on TV right now, right here, every Sunday night after Channel 11 News. So let's get started with tonight's big topics. After watching the first three Steelers preseason games, are you worried? Is there any panic? Is it a sign of things to come in the regular season? Obviously, we'll be talking about the Buccos tonight. Do you think there should be any celebration when, and I can actually finally say when, they get their 82nd win? Another big topic right now, the Steelers trade for Felix Jones. He told me he wants to prove he can be a starter in this league again. But right now, given the state of the injuries, is it Jonathan Dwyer's job to lose? If so, are you content with 27 running the ball? And high school football season officially starts on Friday night. I'm not asking for your picks, but asking you if Whitfield football is now overrated, or is it still some of the best in the country? And finally, I'm the host tonight. I make the rules, and I want to talk about Pitt football specifically. Is Paul Chryst the right guy for the job? I like what he's doing, but he does have some critics out there. Now let's introduce tonight's panelists. From left to right, we have Channel 11's Bill Phillips. From the Trib, Dan Kovacevic and Allen Robinson. We're going to start with the Steelers, so let's start with their beat writer, Allen Robinson. Are you worried after what you've seen so far this preseason? It seems like some of Steeler Nation is in panic mode.
Well, Rich, you just asked, is this what we're going to see during the regular season? I have no idea what we're going to see with the regular season. I don't know. I don't have a sixth sense or a first sense of what they're going to do. We have not seen them play a complete game. The first game it was the special teams. Last time it was the offensive line, pass protection. This time it's just it was a mishmash of things. This team has not played a complete game. They won't be able to play one on Thursday because the starters won't play very much. You're worried. You have to be worried about the running game. You have to be worried about throwing to the tight ends. I don't have any clue right now what this team's going to do. I don't know if it's a 10-6 team or a 6-10 team. But I will say this: if they're a 10-6 team, it'll be because of because of their quarterback Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, you can't argue that. Ben Roethlisberger being healthy on one side of the ball, Troy Polamalu being healthy, strong, and aggressive on the other side of the ball. To me, I like what the Steelers have done, although I can see where they can be a sporadic team where they're going to be frustrating to a lot of people. Allen mentioned not having the tight ends, but at the same time, we also saw that Ben Roethlisberger was able to throw downfield to Antonio Brown, to Emmanuel Sanders. That's going to be something that's going to be worth monitoring with the Steelers as far as the passing game goes. I think it's going to be a bigger deal than the running game. Defensively, look, it was the number one defense in the league last season in terms of points and yards allowed. I think they're going to be potentially even better in the regard of takeaways. To me, it looks like a good team. I'm not ready to throw out a record yet, but I'll tell you this, too. I look at that schedule, and I don't get blown away by it.
Well, the one thing I wanted to see in game number 3 was the offensive line improve, and I think they did that. Did they play a great game, a spectacular game? No, but I thought they were solid in game number 3. I think there's been improvement along the offensive line, and really, when you talk about Ben Roethlisberger being the key to this team, if he doesn't have an offensive line that can keep anyone off of him, it doesn't matter what Ben Roethlisberger does back there because you won't have time to do it. So the offensive line, I saw improvement in the third game, and that's something that I think is a positive for the Steelers. And if they can continue to improve, I think they have enough weapons around Ben Roethlisberger where the offense will go. And as Dan mentioned, that was the number 1 defense in the league last year. Let's say it slips to number 3 or number 5 even. That's still a very good defense. I'm not going to say that they're going to go 12-4 or anything like that, but I do think they're going to be okay this season. Am I ready to push the panic button? No.
It's a great year to line up with the AFC East, I'll tell you that, guys.
I'm not pushing the panic button either. All right, guys, let's switch gears to the Bucs. A reminder to keep the comments coming. You can find us on Twitter at WPXI Final Word, on Facebook at The Final Word. Usually this is the time of the year we can't wait to talk about the Steelers and not the Pirates, but it's exactly the opposite right now.
McCutcheon, ground ball to short. Crawford. Game over. And the Giants and Pirates split this 4-game set. Pirates took the first 2, Giants taking the second 2.
And another tough one for the Buccos today. The Bucs lose for the second straight day. But it wasn't all bad out west, going 4-3 on the latest road trip. The problem is the Cards and Reds are starting to catch up. But I guess the good news is a winning season is in sight finally. But Jim says that's just a fan goal. Their goal is and should be the postseason. I know that's everyone's goal, playoffs. I want to see it, but when they get win number 82, which will happen probably within the next few weeks, is there a reason to celebrate? Maybe break out a bottle of bubbly, Dayon?
Well, not for the players, certainly, and no, not for the manager. Anybody will remember that Lloyd McClendon did that famously a few years ago when the Pirates avoided 100 losses. It caused a lot of embarrassment, and it should have. You're not going to see much of a reaction from them at all other than the standard quotes, hey, we're glad to have it over with, but we're thinking bigger than that. That said, for the public, for the season ticket holders, for the people who have been coming to PNC Park for years, or even Three Rivers Stadium, or even Forbes Field, the people who have suffered through these 20 years, don't diminish this for them. I've been out in the seats and I've been talking to people out there. I hear from them all the time. This does mean something to them. In the context of 2 full decades, it's been a remarkable sports story for the wrong reasons, and it's one that people have every right to celebrate when it comes to an end.
I'll tell you what, if management decided to crack open a bottle of champagne in a private moment away from the prying eyes of the media and have a little toast that it's finally over, I wouldn't begrudge them that. And the one thing that I think Clint Hurdle has said, and he said it a number of times, is he wanted to bring baseball and give it back to the city of Pittsburgh. And this is that first big step to giving the city back baseball. I think baseball's back. The crowds are there. Now they want to see, everybody wants to exhale. I think, you know, so close to 82 wins, they're going to love it. Everybody's going to embrace it. But then I think it's, you turn your focus immediately to the postseason, and everybody's going to get very, very greedy, and that's a good thing. Greed's good, as someone once said in a movie. And I think Clint Hurdle has given baseball back to the city of Pittsburgh. Everyone's going to enjoy it. And if you want to have a little toast in a private moment, why not?
I will say this, the 1990 team, this is probably the most exciting Pirate season since then, because that was a team that won for the first time in 11 years. They didn't celebrate number 82. I do remember Jim Leland celebrating not losing 100 games too. I think it was in 1987. But you know what? This has been a pretty remarkable season, maybe the most remarkable Pirate season since 1960. Let's let them have their sights set a little bit higher.
All right, guys, the Pirates are 6 wins away from 82. They start a 3-game home series against Milwaukee on Tuesday. And coming up after the break, your chance to sound off on who you think the Steelers' starting running back should be. Well, it won't be Baron Batch because he was cut today. Have you seen enough from Jonathan Dwyer? Darla Quinn is for whoever fights the hardest for the job. If it's Jonathan, it's fine with her. If you have an opinion, tweet us now. The Final Word back in 2.